There is a moment in many connections that changes everything. Not the first date, not the first kiss, but the moment when something suddenly feels real. Before that moment, the connection feels easy, light, curious. Two people enjoying each other's company without thinking too far ahead. Messages are playful, plans are spontaneous. Nothing carries too much emotional weight yet, because nothing has truly been placed at risk. But then, somewhere along the way, something shifts. A deeper conversation happens. A quiet moment of vulnerability appears. You share something personal. He reveals something about himself that he normally keeps protected, and suddenly the connection feels different, more meaningful, more emotionally alive. In that moment, many people feel excited, because emotional closeness is often what people are looking for. But for someone with avoidant tendencies, that same moment can feel very different. Because when a connection starts feeling real, something else appears alongside it. Vulnerability. And vulnerability introduces uncertainty. When someone becomes emotionally important, their presence begins to influence your inner world. Their reactions matter, their approval matters, their absence matters. And if someone is not used to sharing emotional space with another person, that shift can feel destabilizing. For someone who has spent years relying on independence, emotional closeness can feel like stepping into unfamiliar territory. Suddenly, another person has the power to affect how you feel. That power can feel both beautiful and frightening at the same time. Part of him may feel drawn closer, but another part may instinctively move in the opposite direction. Because strong emotional attachment means the possibility of loss, the possibility of disappointment, the possibility of being hurt. When those possibilities appear, the mind begins searching for safety. And one of the easiest ways to restore emotional safety is distance. Not necessarily permanent distance, just enough space to regain emotional balance. So when a connection begins to feel meaningful, he may step back slightly. Not because the closeness was unwanted, but because the closeness introduced emotions he didn't expect to feel so strongly. From the outside, that step back can feel confusing. Because the connection seemed to be moving forward. There was warmth, interest, emotional openness. And then suddenly, something changed. But internally, it may not feel like a rejection of the connection. It may feel like a moment of emotional self-protection. A pause. A moment to understand what is happening inside him before moving deeper into something that suddenly feels significant. When emotional closeness appears unexpectedly, the mind often reacts before the heart has time to fully understand what it is feeling. For someone who values emotional independence, strong attachment can feel unfamiliar. It introduces unpredictability. Another person's feelings, actions, and presence now carry emotional weight, and that weight can feel difficult to manage. So distance becomes a way to slow the experience down, a way to think, a way to breathe, a way to restore the emotional balance that suddenly feels uncertain. From his perspective, that distance may feel necessary. Time to reflect, time to process, time to understand feelings that arrived faster than expected. But from the outside, that same distance can look like withdrawal. The warmth becomes quieter. Communication becomes less frequent. The openness that once existed becomes more guarded. And when closeness is followed by distance, the mind naturally searches for explanations. Did I move too fast? Did I say something wrong? Did the connection mean less to him than it meant to me? But often the truth lies deeper than any single moment between two people. Sometimes the connection simply became meaningful enough to activate emotional defenses. Those defenses are not always conscious. They are patterns built over time, patterns shaped by past experiences with vulnerability, moments where closeness felt overwhelming, situations where emotional openness led to disappointment. Over time, those experiences teach the mind a simple lesson. Protect yourself, Stay in control. Don't go too deep too quickly. So when a connection begins crossing into deeper emotional territory, those old protective instincts can appear automatically. The person may not even realize why they feel the need to step back. They simply feel the pressure of emotions growing stronger than expected, and distance becomes the tool that restores balance. But distance does not always mean the connection disappeared. Sometimes it simply means the connection became real enough to challenge someone's emotional comfort zone, real enough to awaken feelings that take time to understand, real enough to make vulnerability visible. And when vulnerability becomes visible, people often pause, not because they don't want the connection, but because meaningful connections sometimes require emotional courage they are still learning to develop.